Bitter criticism. Reading. Let's be happy, or maybe now let's see something from Al Jazeera not related to the genocide. Pretty nice wave. Serious break apart again. Well, Israeli attacks on Gaza killed at least 47 in last 24 hours. So, unfortunate world. Al Jazeera economy. Our seeds, our roots. Sowing hope as Israeli bombs fell on Lebanon. An agroecological collective in the Bekaa Valley has built a seed library to preserve the region's farming heritage. By Philippe Pernot, December 1st. Bekaa Valley, Lebanon. A warm wind blows over the rocky, arid landscape of the Lebanon-Syria border, ruffling the silhouettes, walking slowly through the mountain pass, clambering around two huge craters. What used to be a densely packed road stretching all the way from Beirut in Lebanon through the Bekaa Valley and onto Damascus in Syria via the Mesnaa crossing has been reduced to rubble by Israeli bombardment. All travel has become near impossible. Families now pass only on foot, carrying their luggage over their heads, carefully avoiding losing their balance while navigating the debris. Until a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah was reached on Wednesday. Israel has been carpet bombing Lebanon since late September. On October 4, its forces bombed Masnaa, the largest border crossing into Syria. On October 4th, as it ramped up its assault on Lebanon nearly a year after it started a war on Gaza. What's left of Masnaa is barely enough to allow people through, not to mention the unfamiliar trucks full of fresh fruits and vegetables that used to wind through the pass, going both ways. Quote, since the strike, no produce has been coming in or going out, neither avocados nor bananas, even though the season is in full swing. Abu Hussein, a young laborer who usually works at the side loading and unloading trucks, tell Al Jazeera. Since no commercial trucks pass through now, he spends his days sitting in the shade of the side of the road or helping people carry their belongings through the debris. This is a difficult economic blow for us, he adds. And we have a photograph. Photograph shows people carry their luggage as they cross into Syria on foot through a crater caused by Israeli strikes aiming to block the Beirut-Damascus highway and the Masnaa crossing in the eastern Bekaa Valley, Lebanon on Saturday, October 5th, 1 month ago or 2 months ago. In 2023, Lebanon exported between 250 and 350 tons of agricultural produce daily to the wider Middle East region through Masnaa, producing annual sales of $176 million, according to Lebanese customs data, including industrial exports. Israel claims it hit the road to Masnaa to prevent Hezbollah from importing weapons from Syria, but it could well be first step in a blockade of the country, locals fear. Since that incident, all other official border crossings between Syria and Lebanon also have been bombed, and Israel imposed a maritime blockade on South Lebanon in October. Across the country, Israeli bombs have burned more than 2,000 hectares, about 500 acres of farmland, while 12,000 hectares, nearly 30,000 acres, have been abandoned by farmers fleeing for safety. This means that 10% of Lebanon's arable lands had been lost, although this is considered a very conservative estimate. Of the rest, much have been left fallow. Before Israel's assault, nearly 1 in 4 Lebanese people were already struggling with hunger because of the country's economic crisis and inflation, according to the World Food Program. With Israel's escalation of its attacks on Hezbollah in the country since September, quote, Lebanon's food insecurity is set to worsen. The agency has warned, quote, the conflict also threatens more than 60% of Lebanon's agricultural production, unquote. While Gaza has been suffering from an Israeli blockade for 17 years, now resulting in severe famine, many in Lebanon fear the same fate could await them. And then we have a photograph. Walid Youssef, co-founder of Busuruna Jusuruna, sits with the collective goats and sheep flock at the farm in Sa Daniel Bekaa Valley, Lebanon. Preparing for war, the farm in Sa Daniel, a few kilometers from Masnaa, a mud brick farmhouse stands surrounded by abundant fields. This is the home of Busuruna Jusuruna. Quote, our seeds are our roots. Funny rhyme. An agroecological collective with Lebanese, Syrian, and French members. As the gentle autumn winds brushes through the orchards and goats bleat, the farm feels like a heaven totally removed from Lebanon's bloodshed. Like most of Lebanon's progressive agroecological collectives and farms, it has experienced much upheaval since the Israeli attacks. However, this particular collective has prepared itself for war. Quote, in case there is a total siege, we have prepared our seed library and natural fertilizers and can achieve self-sufficiency in the borders and ports are if the borders and ports are closed. Walid Youssef, one of the collective's co-founders, tells Al Jazeera as he leads the way around the farm's premises. As he walks, he brushes aside generous brushes of rosemary next to the fields before heading into the barn, which is filled with the warm, stingy smell of goats and sheep. Founded in 2015 by a group of 5 as an experimental project, the farm has steadily expanded to encompass 2 hectares of land, 5 acres on which it grows fruit and vegetables as goats, sheep, and chickens roam around. The animals and birds are useful for clearing weeds, producing cheese, labneh, and ghee, while also creating their own natural fertilizer from their waste. Quote, we also consume and sell the meat, the eggs, everything. We develop our own self-sufficient economy here. Youssef explains. Close to the animal farm is the plant nursery, where the collective cultivates more than 1,000 types of seedlings into plants, from crops and decorative plants to aromatic herbs. Quote, I really love the summer crops, like tomatoes, cucumbers, and eggplants, as well as our diverse kind of wheat, Youssef says. And we have a latest photograph. This Youssef inspects the collective seed library at its farm in Sadnayel. The seed library, but most important of all, is on this farm is the dark, dry room in the remain mud brick building that holds an invaluable treasure, an extensive seed library. Here, rows of boxes filled with heirloom seeds are stacked on wooden shelves, each with its species and variety written in Arabic and French. Quote, here we have about 1,000 kinds of seeds, Youssef said, foraging through the boxes. We have about 50 varieties of tomatoes and as many of chilies, eggplants and lettuce, as well as 75 kinds of local and traditional wheat seeds from all over the Mediterranean basin, he adds proudly. But Busuruna has collected the seeds from farmers from the south of France to Syria and even Palestine, thanks to its relationship with other like-minded collectives in those countries. Sometimes members of the collective will travel to France to collect seeds from those farmers, or Syrian members of the collective will bring them to Lebanon. In the dark room, which serves as a library of seeds, Youssef rifles through a box of red-white texture cranberry beans, which flow between the fingers like beads. These are very special for Lebanese farmer. They are a traditional kind found all over the country, he says. A local variety of cranberry beans stored in Busuruna's seed library. He joyfully presents some of his favorite seeds, a rare kind of tomato called, quote, joy of the orchards, in Arabic, a Syrian apple tomato, and a large Lebanese mountain tomato. Busuruna now has enough to supply all the farms in Lebanon if they should need it. But first, the seeds must be shielded from the bombing, which is getting closer by the day. Buildings just a few hundred meters from the farm have been struck in recent weeks. Youssef picks up a transparent plastic box filled to the brim with small bags of seeds. Quote, this box has samples such as fava beans, pumpkins, tomatoes, and eggplants that we will hide somewhere far from here, so that if there were strikes on this place, we will have a safety box in another place, he explained. Quote, it is a small fortune. You can't find seeds like this on the general markets anymore. We have not only to save them, but also to disseminate them, unquote. To this end, Busuruna provides seed seedling to farmers in need. Currently, it is providing vegetable seeds to 14 farms and wheat seeds to another 4. The collective provides the seeds and training on how to cultivate them for free. Other farmers are welcome to buy seeds. Quote, these are seeds that are reusable, so they can then develop their crops on their own, as opposed to industrially produced seeds, Youssef adds. And maybe the last photograph. photograph about a mix of 6 contained in a box that the Jusuruna collective will hide in a safe location in case of an air attack on the farm. Most seeds available in the general markets that farmers buy from are hybrid, genetically modified, and are produced by just 4 main multinational companies, such as Monsanto, explains Leah Martinet-Janin, one of the French members of the collective. She speaks to Al Jazeera by telephone as she has been unable to return to Lebanon from France since the start of Israel's onslaught. At the moment, Lebanon's farming sector relies heavily on artificial hybrid seeds, says Martinet-Janin. Hybrids are engineered to be more resistant to certain diseases or to yield a larger amount of produce, but the benefit comes at the price of being single-use only. The only crops cannot be used to produce new seeds to be replanted in the next season. This is expensive and creates a dependency because farmers have to buy them every year anew. The seeds that the collective uses to cultivate crops are not hybrid and can be replanted. For these reasons, the collective seed library initiative is revolutionary in Lebanon. A country depends on agricultural imports for up to 80% of its needs, including fruits, vegetables, meat and dairy products, as well as seeds. Wheat, fertilizers, pesticides and machinery are also almost entirely imported. The collective has held educational training courses for local farmers. Quote, the goal was to raise awareness and guide the Syrian, Lebanese and Palestinian farmers of the area to have an idea about sustainable agriculture, and so that they will have secure nourishment for themselves and their families. Yosef explains, quote, today we are witnessing a war in Lebanon. This library's goal is to help ensure that the farmers have self-sufficiency so that they are able to grow crops from the seeds they have between their hands, he added. And maybe not the last photograph. The photograph displays some of the 1,000 heirloom seeds and more stored in Jusuruna Seeds Library. So this article is huge. I will not be able to read it all. Food, the last safety net. Quote, the multinational companies that produce and sell these hybrids, one-way seeds, are subjugating small farmers and their families by making them dependent on a capitalistic colonial system of agriculture. Developing heirloom seeds is an act of resistance, Martinet-Janin says. The collective also aims to reserve the disappearance of food traditions and to preserve local heritage and culture, especially during times of war. Quote, as an example, our Syrian colleagues, they have lost their homes, they have lost their villages, their lives during the Syrian civil war, but there we can still grow the special kind of small heirloom eggplants and zucchinis they need for their traditional dishes. They can still hold on to something. Food can be the last safety net left when you have lost everything, Martinet-Janin explains. The very last paragraph I read, quote, it is flagrant how the war is destroying local agricultural systems and traditions, particularly in Palestine recently. But this has happened over the whole region over the course of the last conflicts, unquote. she said, referring to incidents such as when the United States bombed Iraq seed bank in Abu Ghraib during its 203 invasion. And yeah, I have no more time, but this article is absolutely marvelous and anti-imperialist. So long life for Al Jazeera.